Everybody loves court storming, right? It's so exciting for fans to rush the court. But what happens when players get injured? And now the fallout of Duke and Wake and Kyle Filipowski. We've got to unpack it all. And how does it relate to our own lives as followers of Jesus? Let's unpack it.
This is the Unpackin' It podcast, where we relate big sports stories to life and biblical truth. Our mission is to challenge, encourage, and inspire you to follow Jesus and become more like him with sports conversations that truly matter.
That's what I'm talking about!
Coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hey, I just want to thank you guys one last time for being here. It's the best day ever.
Here is the president of Unpackin' It Ministries, Bryce Johnson.
Welcome to the Unpacking It podcast, where we unpack parallels, metaphors, and topics in sports that relate to life and faith. I'm Bryce Johnson, joined today by guest co-host Matt Vanderbilt. You will meet him in just a moment. Of course, last week it was Luke Heaton's last show, and so we miss him. And so for the foreseeable future, we are going to be rotating co-hosts on this show, and so excited about where this show is heading and some new opportunities that are being presented. Just got back from Nashville, had a wonderful week there at the NRB convention, and some really cool possibilities and opportunities are right around the corner. And so we're trusting God's leading and guiding, and so I will keep you posted on that. But today's episode, it's all about unpacking the Wake Forest fans storming the court, a Duke player getting hurt, and how we aren't meant to remain in the crowd as followers of Jesus. And so there's a lot there. We'll take a big picture look at court storming and where we stand on that. And I want to bring up a topic that I don't think anybody's talking about in regards to court storming. And so thank you for all of you that are listening to the podcast on Spotify or Apple, and those of you that watch on social media, on YouTube, glad to have you. Make sure you subscribe, like, rate, review, share. We appreciate all of that. You can always get in touch with me, Bryce, at unpackingit.com. Our website is unpackingit.com. And if you haven't subscribed to our devotional that goes out Monday, Wednesday, Friday into your email, make sure you subscribe for free on unpackingit.com. All right. I'm excited because today I have a guest co-host in studio. His name is Matt Vanderbilt. He's the lead pastor of Vision Church in Gastonia, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. He's originally from Michigan, and so he's a lifelong fan of the Wolverines, but he's lived in North Carolina for over 25 years. He's a good friend of mine. Matt, welcome to the Unpacking It podcast.
Well, thanks, Bryce. It is a great honor and pleasure to be here. I love sports. I love the passion of it, the teamwork, the life lessons we get from it, the way we watch people perform under pressure. And as you mentioned, I am a lifelong fan of the Wolverines. And so I love that I get this chance to come in and represent the Maize and Blue just a little time after winning a national championship. But the reality is, as much as I love sports, I love Jesus even more. I love talking about Jesus and certainly how he impacts our lives. So thank you for making sports and faith collide in your ministry. I love this thing.
Man, well, glad to have you here. And of course, I've got my App State football
Man.
just to the left here. So so we're all set. So we got both teams represented, and I will mention App in just a little bit as we dive into this topic. And so I think first off, I just want to have a conversation about court storming, and then we'll get into the specifics of what happened at Wake Forest and then how that parallels our own lives. But for me, the memories of storming, I've never had the opportunity to storm a court, but I have stormed the football field, and that happened while I was at App. It was a home game, and so we had a big win, and I was a freshman, and it was a really exciting, the win meant we were going to the national championship.
Wow.
But I remember how crazy it was. And I remember how people were tearing down the goalpost. Yeah. We took the goalpost all over town. And, you don't care about destruction. You don't care who's getting hurt. Yes. You're just celebrating, and it's nuts. So that's my perspective as a as a student. But here's my big take on all of this. When it comes to just court storming, court or field storming in general,
Yeah.
I think that happens too often.
Yeah.
And what you're indicating is we're surprised that we won.
Right.
And
Right.
so I'm more concerned, not so much, I'm concerned about the safety, of course, but I'm concerned that a team like Wake Forest, come on, man, you guys got to raise the bar, expect the standard. You got to expect
to win that thing.
You got to expect to beat somebody in your conference. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
And so let me at least hear your experience with court storming and your overall perspective.
You know, I've been thinking about this for a couple of days now, and I've never stormed a court myself, but I've been watching sports for decades. And certainly what we've seen lately with Filipowski, certainly with Caitlin Clark. Oh, my goodness, that clip of her being basically run over by a fan who didn't even see her. And it's interesting. I think as we've thought about this more the last couple of years, I wonder if it really ties into this entitlement of people to be able to express themselves however they want, whenever they want. Ooh. It's their right.
Ooh.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, let's just say Caitlin Clark, who to me is the most valuable asset in college basketball this year. I mean, and I'm not even typically a big women's basketball fan, but to see what she's done and what she means for the sport, and that somebody felt like they were owed the right to storm on a court, crash into her. She could have been done for the year. She could have missed out on a legacy record that she broke in terms of scoring because somebody felt like they had the right to storm the court and do that. And I spent a lot of time thinking about this. Said, man, do you keep the passion of the game in there and say, well, let's storm it. Let's set a clock. They could stop, they can come in a minute after the game, or they can put police around it. But really, is the bottom line, do people have the rights to trespass? I mean, I know it almost sounds severe, but they're not allowed in the locker rooms. They're not allowed in the court during the game or on the field during the game. So how about right after the game, you're suddenly allowed to go and do that, allowed to maybe climb up on a basket, allowed to tear down goalposts? I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
So yeah, the concept that fans are here, players and coaches and refs, and they're here. That separation is pretty important.
It is important.
Right? And so all of a sudden after the game, it's like we throw all of that out the window.
Yes.
And it is very dangerous. And so I come at this with a couple different perspectives, and I think you can have multiple perspectives on this because I share the story about App because as a student, man, I would have been bummed to not have that experience. Right. It was more of a celebration. It was excitement. It wasn't an upset. We were the home team, and so we were a game away from the national championship, so we expected to win and all that. And so I understand the joy and the happiness when your team wins, when you're a student at basketball, football, whatever it is, and you want to just be a part of it and celebrate, and your reaction is, let's go celebrate. We got to go.
It's fun.
We got to go see the players and all that kind of thing. But my other point is, all right, we can't just do this every night. And especially if it's two ranked teams.
Oh, of course. That's embarrassing.
Oh, my gosh.
You're celebrating that?
It wears me out.
And expect to beat them.
And also in conference games, and we're talking regular season games. Right. So it's overdone. Right. So that's my bigger concern is that it happens too often. It takes away sort of the value, the mystique
it's diluting
of it.
It's definitely
diluting it. That's a good word.
Yes.
So I don't like that. And so then when it comes to, okay, a lot of people are speaking out against this and saying, we got to ban it and all that. Yeah. I'm not sure that I want to jump all the way to that conclusion again, because you get to be a student one time. You may get that one court storm while you're there for 4 years.
Right.
Cherish that one.
Yes.
But these schools, like, they've got to be a little bit more aware. And so Wake appeared pretty clueless in that.
They certainly did. They did.
That situation.
Yes. And I want to ask you this, it's been said how it's just in college, it's not in the pros. Well, the memory I flipped back to, and I actually researched it this morning to confirm it, was in the pros back when my Pistons.
There you go.
The finals, their first time back in 88. And I don't know if you got any middle-aged listeners that can relate back to 88. But in 88, the Pistons had lost Game 6 on the road to L.A. by a point. We were that close to win our first championship. So comes to Game 7, comes down to the last minute against the Lakers, which it's an interesting fact, everybody knows this, the finals MVP that year was James Worthy from Gastonia.
Oh, there you
He
go.
won finals MVP. Game 7, Pistons are wrestling to come back. They're down by 4. Lakers hit a 3. We hit a 3 to cut it to 1, and then they throw it long to AC Green. He makes a layup with 2 seconds left. Now, you could feel the tension in the place rising. Of course, it's Game 7, the NBA Finals. The crowd has already been on their feet, pushing the lines. And literally, I watched it back this morning. Some of them were standing over the lines, like the court already. You've mentioned the pressure of people, loudness. 2 seconds left. The ball goes through the basket. AC Green makes the basket. Pistons down 3 with a chance to tie it. They go to inbound it. There's already people coming in on the court, pressing in on them, literally affecting the game. They go down. They miss a shot. It's just like chaos in the forum that night. And I look back and like, wait a second. Did they even have a right to be impacting the Game 7 of the finals, let alone, hurting a player, Filipowski, Clark? I don't know. I've got such mixed emotions about it that I love the passion of sports, but it can't get out of control and it can't be diluted. So where do you land with that?
Yeah, I think it's reevaluating the parameters and putting some safeguards in place. And so the dramatic conversations that have led to, well, you take away the win for the team, the home team. That seems a little.
Can't go there.
That's extreme.
I can't go there.
The
fines.
Fans don't care. They don't care
at all about that.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
So that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Having more security, that seems reasonable, but you still have 15,000 fans or more.
Yes.
You're not going to stop them.
Right.
There's still the crazy crowd is really difficult to control.
Yes.
Especially when now all of a sudden the level of excitement, it's a game winner, it's a huge upset, something like that. So the other ideas that I was reading about, just different possibilities. What if the players go into the crowd?
Right. Like I think Kansas State just did that.
Kansas State. I think that's right.
I said, hey, cool. They go up in the stands. They're celebrating with the fans, and that seems very natural, very enjoyable. Like I would enjoy it as a fan.
That's right.
So do you tell them about that ahead of time? Like how do you do that? How do you cast a vision for that?
I know. And that's part of in the moment when the crowd rushes the floor, like that's what's fun. And that is what is uncontrollable.
Yes.
But those are the best ones where it's so unexpected. But Wake Forest was actually the betting favorite in the game.
It was not even an upset?
No.
Really?
No, not according to
so you wouldn't have predicted that would have happened, huh?
So you'd think they would have been ready for that. And then I guess the other idea is let's see. If you make the home team forfeit the game,
I guess one of the at least, can you protect the visiting team if you feel like that's the
delay.
Or the delay.
Yeah,
so
that's
if
the
you're
other
like,
one.
okay, if there's only like 12 police officers, can they be all around the Duke bench? Let's take that game and say, okay, they're around the Duke bench. So at least they make a shell around the Duke players and get them out. And at least it protects Filipowski, Caitlin Clark, because I think that was at Ohio State, I think
that's right.
Happened. And at least you put a bubble around them so that hopefully fans are respecting the home team more. I don't know.
Yeah, but the other concern though is fans hurting other fans.
That's true.
Because that's
true, 'cause they get out of control.
But that's sort of the risk you take.
That is the risk. You go in that court, you're putting yourself at risk.
So I don't even know if you can't protect. That's not the responsibility necessarily. But I really like your point at the beginning. I hadn't thought of it in that way, that we have this entitlement. And part of it too is that we're closer to because of social media, we feel close to athletes. Yes. We have more access. We watch all these shows on Netflix or documentaries or whatever it is, where players are revealing themselves and who they are, and they want us to know them. And so we're going to go down and see them. Now in college, you actually go to class with these guys.
Right.
So you actually do know them to a certain extent. And so you feel like, I want to go see my buddy and go congratulate them. Now, it's not all 15,000 know all these guys, but that's part of it too.
So let me toss this your way then. Let's say you're Kyle Filipowski's dad. You're at the game at Wake, and people have been blistering your son all game long, which they have a right. Sports hate, whatever. Like that's fine as long as it doesn't get personal or whatever. But they're like, Kyle, you stink. Kyle, you should fall down, break your leg. You should whatever. And the game ends, and instantly now these college age, mostly male athletes, maybe drinking, I don't know. But either way, now they're rushing the court where your son is for 40 minutes. They've been yelling at him Now they're in his space.
Oh.
How do you feel as a dad? You say they should absolutely not have that freedom to be in my son's space. At least there's been the borders around it for 40 minutes, but now
That's right. Now you're all up there, all up in there.
space.
That's it. So let's lean into kind of this specific situation with the Wake and Duke game, and we'll parallel this to our own lives as followers of Jesus, because I'm watching the end of this. And so admittedly, I'm a Duke fan, and so I'm bummed about the loss and all that. So that's a separate thing. But Duke, it's all about the tournament. So it would have been fun to win the ACC regular season. That's out of the question probably at this point. Right. So now it's all about, all right, get hot for the ACC tournament, go win the whole thing. That's all fine. But now if Kyle Filipowski's hurt, that changes things a little bit.
Yes.
But here's what I saw in this is that, for one, they came in when there was still time on the clock. But that's another topic.
Unacceptable.
But all of a sudden, he's the only Duke player in this crowd of Wake fans.
That's scary.
He's consumed by these fans. He is stuck in the crowd. And of course, you can criticize him. He was bumping and pushing, and
he's trying to get out, right?
He's trying to get out,
Yeah,
and all that. But he gets tied up in the crowd and ends up hurting his knee. And then here come his teammates and coaches to try to carry him out of the crowd. And so for me, though, in thinking about him getting swallowed up in the sea of people, there was this the questioning of him is, why didn't he get out of there quicker? Why didn't he have a better plan? Why didn't Coach Shire have a better plan for his players? Hey, guys, if we miss this you don't even want to say that. You don't want to say, hey, if we miss this.
Right.
But guys, make sure either way, we got to get out of here and be aware of that. And so the delay, the hesitation from Filipowski walking slowly. I saw Mike Greenberg. He made a big, did you see this? He was, anybody that's criticizing Filipowski, you're a moron. All right, that's fine. But even as a Duke fan, it's like, hey, Kyle, you got to get out of there, man. You got to go. No delay.
You gotta go.
It's not his fault, but you still have to be aware and alert to get out.
Yes.
So that's another one of the lessons as we think about this crowd coming in. They're not worried about the players getting hurt. They're trying to take them down. They're trying. They're just, their motivation is, hey, we want to go celebrate. And so here's Kyle Filipowski in the center of all these Wake fans cheering all around him. And so he's not where he belongs. He's in the middle of them celebrating something that he does not want to be a part of. And so as we think about this scene of Filipowski being stuck in the crowd, getting hurt because he's still in it, for us as followers of Jesus, we're not meant to remain in the crowd. Right. Because when we do, we can easily get hurt and taken down by the crowd. And the other phrasing in this too is the world, the world around us, the evil world around us, right? Because that world hates us.
Yes.
They want to swallow us up. They want to toss us around. So those Wake fans, we know they hate Filipowski. We know they hate Duke players.
Stay away.
So you gotta get out.
Because I don't know about you, Bryce, but me, it seems like many times in my life when I've ended up doing something I regretted, it's like I got swept up into something that I normally wouldn't do if I was in my clear state of mind. I mean, think about when you're a kid. Hey man, let's throw rocks at cars. Stand by yourself, you're not gonna do that. 2-3 buddies start doing it. Yeah, let's throw rocks at cars. Next thing you know, you smash a windshield, cars coming over, cops coming up, they play all the way out. You're like, how'd this happen, Matthew? That's my mom speaking. Like, well, Mom, the guys were doing it, and I just got swept up in it. And she's like, that's no excuse. Can you not think for yourself on that moment? You couldn't. Just like those Wake guys pouring down there, Filipowski not getting out of there. Man, you got to Peter says, be clear-minded and self-controlled so you can pray. Man, in those moments, you're not clear-minded. You're not self-controlled, so you certainly can't be praying or in a prayer state of mind. And I know one of the verses you'd mentioned in Romans 12 about not conforming to the pattern of this world, but being transformed. I visualize literally going against the flow. Conforming is with the flow, against the flow. So you're like, hey, I'm not going to get swept up into something that I don't want to be doing. What's your take on that?
No, exactly. I think that, the phrasing of being consumed and sucked in and all that kind of thing, that's what the world is trying to do. That's what the crowd is trying to do.
Yes.
And so as followers of Jesus, our life is going to look different. And there's a part of this parallel where you want to stand firm if you're in the crowd, right? You want to stand out. You want to stand firm. But the other side of it is we oftentimes just need to get out of the crowd. We need to get out of the world. Yes, we want to continue to witness, to be a light, to be an example, to be, to be in the world to a certain extent, but not of the world, not a part of what they're doing. And again, with this parallel, Wake Forest is celebrating something that Filipowski does not want to be a part of. He's got to get out.
Get out of there.
And so for us, the world is celebrating all sorts of things that go against God's word and who we are in Christ. And so we got to get out of that. We can't be sucked into that kind of celebration. And so we've got to, get to safety. And sometimes people need to carry us out, or we need to help carry others out.
Yes,
right.
Definitely.
And so ultimately Jesus is the one that carries us out. And so let's look at this verse, John 15, 18 and 19. This is Jesus speaking. If the world hates you, remember that it hated me first.
Right.
The world would love you as one of its own if you belong to it, but you are no longer part of the world. Right. I chose you to come out of the world, so it hates you. And so, man, that parallels this story with Filipowski for sure.
It does. But I mean, as Christians, we have to choose what we're going to stand on, which ultimately our choice is God's word, and say that this is what we're standing on. And the world's going to push back against that, which really almost even back to that original point I made about what people feel entitled to do these days. They're going to say, hey, man, you got a right to drink what you want, sleep where you want, take what you want, steal what you want. And we have to step back and say, no, that's not God's value system. Because honestly, even as Christians, we can get that pull, that drift of, well, then just slide a little bit. Just kind of slide a little bit. Let your values just slip a little bit. And God say, man, get out of that crowd, minister to that crowd, be light in that crowd. But man, make sure you're hanging out with other people that are like-minded values of Christians, so you don't get pulled into that. And man, even just that picture of Filipowski in that crowd, and you're thinking, man, if that's me in the middle of a crowd, pull me somewhere else, I want none of that. None of that at all. So let me toss the idea your way then, because Jay Billis, he says he thinks then they should just cut it out. Say, okay, you get on the court, you're getting a citation, you're getting arrested. In my mind, I was like, okay, well, if you went that far, could you be expelled from school? Like literally, if you said, okay, at the under 4 timeout, hey guys, we know you're thinking about court storming, but just to let you know, the new NCAA regulations or ACC regulations that anybody on the court after the game is possible to be get a citation, arrested, or expelled from school. Stay off the court. Harsh. But would Mr. Filipowski say, Mr. Clark, where they say, man, I want to protect my kids? Would the coaches say, I want to protect my kids? And you say, oh, you're not entitled to court storming anymore. It was a nice thing back in the day. It's not there anymore because it's gotten out of hand. I don't know. I'm not sure where I land on it. But as a Christian, then if I say, okay, well, I'm definitely going to set up these boundaries to say, I'm not going there. Somebody may say it's too harsh. Well, for me, going into the bar, I'm not even going to go there, because if I go there and then get pulled into the drift of drinking and then this happens, I'm just going to set the borders up. So disagree or not with Jay Billis, it's a position to consider. What do you think?
I like that parallel. I think that fits in well with this conversation. I was actually just listening to a book this morning talking about the rules of our life. Are we following the kind of the rules of the world, or are we setting up boundaries and rules for our own lives as we follow Jesus? And so, I mean, when we follow Jesus, he doesn't want us to get caught up in the world anymore and stuck in the crowd. Filipowski was stuck in there and getting, hurt. Right. So when we remain in the crowd and thinking like the world and letting go, or just kind of, well, man, we're swallowed up in it.
Right.
Man, it leads to more pain. And so we have to consider today, okay, what is my perspective? Is it an eternal perspective? Is it a biblical worldview? Or am I'm just part of the crowd, part of the world, and kind of just flowing, getting tossed back and forth? Because that was the other kind of image in this too. Filipowski's getting tossed around to and fro. And so is that who we are, in life? And so, to your point about the boundaries, are we preparing and thinking through as well, getting out of those situations
Right.
and not responding in certain
Right.
ways.
Yes.
And so that was my big struggle with Filipowski. It's like, man, you got to get out of there quickly.
Right.
And so
Right.
for us, if we know that we're going to enter into a situation where the temptation is going to be stronger, the pressure of the crowd, the pressure of, whether it's friends or the world influence. And it's like, man, if I'm in this, if I'm working for this company, or if I'm hanging with these guys, or going back to my hometown, whatever it is, we got to be aware, the crowd's going to suck me in. So I got to avoid it. I got to get out quickly.
Yes.
The crowd's starting to come in I got to go.
Right.
And so there's a couple of cool verses, Proverbs 4:25-27. Look straight ahead and fix your eyes on what lies before you. Mark out a straight path for your feet. Stay on the safe path.
Yes.
Don't get sidetracked. Keep your feet from following evil.
Love it.
Because when we follow the crowd, we're following evil.
Yes.
The crowd, the world, they're heading, and we talked a couple weeks ago, the path of destruction. The narrow road is the narrow road of following Jesus. The right path. It's a narrow path because not everybody's doing it. Everybody else is in the wide gate. And so are we following evil, or are we following Jesus? That's the question.
And Bryce, it came to my mind as you were saying that, the importance of choosing your teammates wisely, because I imagine the Duke guys were like, Kyle, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. And he drifts in there. So imagine, I know this might be stretching, but what if he was on a team full of guys that were fighters, and they were like, hey, here comes the crowd. Well, man, let's fight them. Come on, Kyle. Let's take them on. I mean, how idiotic would that be to be surrounded by 11 other guys who are like, well, let's take them on. I mean, you need to surround yourself with teammates and say, Kyle, we got to get out of here. We got to find that narrow path. We got to get back to the locker room and get out of here, literally grabbing his arms, helping him make that choice instead of pushing him into that crowd. Man, the teammates we choose, it totally changes the trajectory of our journey.
No question about it. And yeah, we're talking about that on Sunday at church. Who are 5 people in your life? 5
Yes,
people.
5.
That's it. That's good stuff.
Wow.
And so the other part of this is not lingering, right? Because sometimes we'll delay.
Yes.
We'll delay. It's like, no, I'm fine. And Filipowski was sort of bummed about the loss, and he's kind of, my wife was trying to defend him for his slowness, and I'm thinking, no, you got to get out of there. She's like, no, he was bummed about the loss. He was just trying to process it all, and it's like, no, you got to anticipate it, and you can't linger. And too often we allow ourselves to linger with the crowd. Kind of let me
smelling trouble, sensing trouble.
I'll stay a little bit longer. One more drink.
Get
And so you got to run. You got to go. So that's the other encouragement for this. And then again, Filipowski has no business being in the middle of the Wake Forest crowd, getting tied up with them. And there are many situations in life where we have no business as followers of Jesus being tied up in it. Tied up in that situation, tied up with the crowd, linking ourselves up in one way or another. We've got to be set apart. We got to live holy lives. And so going back to the verse, earlier where Jesus says, I chose you to come out of the world. And so we have to remember that as well. A couple other verses to share as we wrap things up today. Proverbs 27:12. This is the Amplified. A prudent man sees evil and hides himself and avoids it, but the naive who are easily misled continue on and are punished by suffering the consequences of sin. And then also, just knowing that we always have a way out. And so in 1 Corinthians 10:13, no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape.
Isn't that great?
That you may be able to endure it.
Yes.
And then this is a hopeful verse to leave us too.
Yeah.
Psalm 32:7, talking about God. You are my hiding place. You, Lord, protect me from trouble. You surround me with songs and shouts of deliverance.
That's good stuff.
So let's rest in him and find our safety in him, not in the crowd. It's dangerous in the crowd. We're going to get hurt in the crowd.
Right.
We want to continue to follow the world, follow the patterns of this world. Man, we're going to continue to get hurt and banged up and miss out on opportunities. Filipowski's going to miss out We're blaming Filipowski with this parallel, but he, I might miss out on this game Wednesday or more. We'll see.
Yep.
But he got caught in the crowd, and so we end up missing on the blessings and the fruit when we're continuing to remain stuck in the crowd. We got to get out. So Jesus gets us out, and we got to kind of stay out. Don't go running back in the crowd,
That's
right?
Absolutely.
You don't want to go running back.
Yes.
That's the other thing. And so let's allow Jesus to carry us out of the crowd. Let's surround ourselves with the right people, the teammates that also help carry us out. And let's look for those teammates too that we need to carry out, that are stuck in the crowd. They're stuck in the patterns of this world. And so that's the other encouragement today. So Matt, I'll give you kind of a final word as we wrap up your debut here on the Unpacking It podcast.
Man, that's why, like I led with, I love sports so much because there's so many life lessons in them. And when you watch games and see how people react under pressure, how they react to situations that go their way or don't, and we can just pull that into our spiritual life and say, man, I don't want to go down that path. I don't want to have those regrets. So let's think ahead. Let's pick wise teammates. Let's stay with that narrow path. And man, let's strive for victory and have this thing marked out. And but it's not necessarily clear cut. Just like in this situation, it's not clear cut. So you got to make some decisions and make some choices and stand on them and surround yourself with good people. So excellent topic today, Bryce.
Well, I appreciate you being here. That was a ton of fun, and it flies by, but fun having you in studio here as well. So we miss Luke, but wish him the best. And so yeah, the final encouragement today: let's choose to follow Jesus. Yes. Leave the chaos of the crowd behind.
Leave that behind.
Let's not get sucked up into the crowd and consumed by the crowd. And let's look for that way out as Jesus leads us on that right path. And so the world does hate us as followers of Jesus. And so let's not let them win.
Right.
Let's not let them celebrate all around us and we get sucked into that. No, let's find our way out. And man, that's it's a challenge though, because it truly is, because it's coming in on every side. All around that crowd is coming in to get us, to take us down.
But the good news is, who's got it better than us?
Nobody. There you go.
As Christians, man, nobody's got it better than us.
All right. Well, enough of the Michigan love here. Well, again, the App State football is right next to you to keep you humble. Keep you humble.
Yes, indeed.
That's it. Well, for Matt, I'm Bryce. Thank you so much for listening today. I'm a sports fan who follows Jesus. I believe in the good news that he died on the cross for my sin. He was resurrected, and through faith, I've been saved by his grace. I hope that is true for you as well, and I hope you'll join me as we live life as sports fans who follow Jesus together. Have a great rest of your day. Let's save the court storming for big moments, special moments, not a conference win, right? Come on. But enjoy it if you still get the chance. It's still fun. If you're a student and you get to rush the floor or the field, soak it in. Because now, I don't know, maybe they might not let this forever. They might not be able to do this for too much longer. So anyway, have a great one. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Unpacking It podcast.